Have you ever wondered why people with a life path 6, often called the nurturers, seem to carry an invisible weight on their shoulders when it comes to love? If you are a life path 6, you've probably heard it before. You're the caretaker. You're the healer. You're the one people turn to when everything falls apart. And while these qualities sound noble, even beautiful, they can also be the very reason why toxic relationships keep finding their way to you. Let's begin with a story. Anna was born with a life path 6. From the outside, she seemed to have it all together. Gentle, responsible, and endlessly giving. In her 20s, she fell in love with a man who seemed broken but charismatic. He had a difficult past, and his wounds ran deep. Most people would have walked away, but Anna couldn't. Something inside her whispered, "I can fix him. I can heal him. My love will be enough." For the first few months, things felt magical. He admired her patience, her kindness, her ability to listen without judgment. But soon, the cracks began to show. He relied on her for emotional stability, yet gave little in return. When he lashed out, she forgave him. When he disappeared for days, she waited. When he made promises and broke them, she covered his mistakes with her loyalty. Anna thought this was love, but in truth, she was carrying the entire relationship on her shoulders. This is the burden of responsibility that nearly every life path 6 knows too well. Life path 6 is deeply connected to themes of service, compassion, and responsibility. From a numerological perspective, 6 resonates with the vibration of the home, family, and harmony. It's the number of the healer, the counselor, the nurturer. But here's the shadow side. Life path 6 often believes it is their duty to hold everything together. They feel guilty when others struggle, even if it's not their fault. They mistake love for sacrifice, believing that by absorbing another person's pain, they are proving their devotion. This responsibility is not inherently bad. It's beautiful when expressed in balance. But when unchecked, it makes life path 6 a magnet for those who need rescuing, those who thrive on being saved, and those who take without giving back. One of the most dangerous patterns for life path 6 is what I call the healer's trap. It goes like this. 1. You meet someone who seems broken or lost. 2. You feel an almost magnetic pull to help them. 3. You convince yourself their wounds are your responsibility. 4. You begin to pour love, time, and energy into fixing them. 5. The relationship becomes unbalanced, draining you emotionally. And here's the cruel twist. Instead of gratitude, many toxic partners begin to expect this treatment. They take your care for granted. And over time, you may start to feel invisible, unappreciated, and unloved. For life path 6, this cycle can last years, sometimes decades, because walking away feels like failure. You think, if I leave, who will take care of them? Who will love them enough? Why does this happen so consistently for life path 6? Let's break it down. 1. Childhood conditioning. Many life path 6 individuals grow up feeling responsible for others very early. Maybe you had to take care of younger siblings, or maybe you became the peacemaker in a chaotic home. You learned that your worth comes from what you give. 2. Fear of abandonment. Life path 6 fears being seen as selfish. Saying no feels dangerous because it risks rejection. So you overgive, thinking it will guarantee love. 3. Identity through service. You define yourself by what you do for others. Without someone to help, you feel lost. So even when relationships turn toxic, you cling to the role of caretaker because it gives you identity. This blend of psychology and numerological energy creates a powerful magnet for toxic dynamics. Here's another hidden layer. Sometimes life path 6 carries responsibility not just out of love, but out of control. Yes, you heard that right. When you believe you can save someone, you're also believing you know what's best for them. This can lead to codependency, where you both lose your independence. And toxic partners often exploit this, making you feel indispensable so you'll never leave. They might say things like, "No one else would put up with me like you do. Without you, I'd be lost. You're the only one who understands me." At first, these words sound flattering, but over time, they chain you to a cycle of guilt and responsibility. So what happens when a life path 6 spends years carrying this burden? Emotional burnout. You feel exhausted, drained, and numb. Loss of identity. You forget your own dreams and desires. Toxic attachment. You confuse love with obligation. Resentment. Deep down, you may resent the very people you're helping. It's like trying to hold up the sky for someone else. You'll collapse eventually. Here's the turning point. Being a life path 6 doesn't doom you to toxic love forever. The key is awareness. Ask yourself, am I loving this person? Or am I rescuing them? Do I feel energized in this relationship or constantly drained? If I stopped giving, would the relationship survive? These questions are uncomfortable, but they shine a light on the truth. Responsibility is not about saving everyone. It's about owning your choices, protecting your energy, and choosing love that is mutual. For life path 6, the real lesson is learning that you don't have to carry the world on your shoulders. Love is not a test of endurance. It is a space of mutual growth. As we close this first part of the journey, remember Anna? After years of carrying her partner's chaos, she finally realized something. She wasn't healing him, she was enabling him. That realization broke her heart, but it also set her free. And this is where we begin to understand why life path 6 keeps attracting toxic relationships. The burden of responsibility is both your gift and your curse. It can build homes, heal wounds, and nurture souls, but it can also chain you to pain that was never yours to carry. In part 2, we'll go even deeper into the next trap, the illusion of perfect love, and why life path 6 often confuses toxic intensity with destiny. In part 1, we explored the heavy burden of responsibility that life path 6 often carries into relationships, the endless urge to fix, to heal, to hold everything together. But there's another trap, one just as powerful, and perhaps even more dangerous, the illusion of perfect love. For the life path 6, love is not casual. It's not something to be half-lived. Love is sacred, consuming, life-defining. You don't just want companionship, you want destiny. And that's exactly why you often confuse toxic intensity with true, healthy love. From an early age, many life path 6 individuals carry a vision of what love should look like. You dream of devotion, loyalty, home, family, and harmony. You imagine a partner who will not only cherish you, but also complete you. This vision is beautiful, but it's also dangerous. Why? Because the more vividly you imagine perfect love, the more blind you become to the red flags that scream, this isn't it. Instead of listening to reality, you hold on to the dream. Instead of leaving when love turns toxic, you tell yourself, this must be destiny. Real love is supposed to hurt sometimes. If I just try harder, this will become the story I've always dreamed of. And that is how the illusion begins. Sophia, a life path 6, always believed in soulmates. She met Daniel, a man who swept her off her feet with grand gestures, late-night talks, and promises that felt like poetry. From the start, it felt electric. He told her she was his destiny. He said he had never felt this way before. Every text, every kiss, every fight, it all felt larger than life. But soon, intensity turned into chaos. Their arguments became explosive, their reconciliations passionate but short-lived. He would disappear for days, only to return with apologies so emotional that Sophia believed him all over again. Her friends told her it was toxic, but Sophia refused to see it. Why? Because it felt real. It felt like the soulmate connection she had always dreamed of. She believed the pain was proof of passion, the chaos proof of destiny. But in truth, she wasn't in love with him. She was in love with the illusion of perfect love. So why does this happen so often to those on life path 6? 1. The romantic idealist. Life path 6 is ruled by Venus energy. Love, beauty, harmony. You crave devotion, and when someone showers you with passion, you interpret it as proof of destiny. 2. The savior complex. Because you feel responsible for healing others, you believe that intense, difficult relationships are more real. If it's too easy, it feels shallow. If it's painful, it feels meaningful. 3. The fear of imperfection. You idealize love so much that when reality falls short, you cling harder, trying to mold the relationship into the perfect picture in your head. This is why life path 6 often stays in toxic love far longer than they should. The very intensity that should be a warning becomes, for you, a siren song. Let's break down how the illusion works step by step. 1. The spark. You meet someone who feels magnetic. The connection is fast, strong, overwhelming. 2. The red flags. They show inconsistency, jealousy, manipulation, but you call it passion. 3. The chaos, fights, reconciliations, tears, apologies. Instead of leaving, you think, this must be how great love feels. Or 4. The trap. You invest more and more, convincing yourself that if you endure the pain, you'll eventually get the perfect love story you've always dreamed of. This cycle is exactly how toxic relationships sustain themselves. Psychologists explain this with something called trauma bonding. Toxic partners often create highs and lows, periods of affection followed by rejection. Your brain begins to associate chaos with love. The dopamine hits from reconciliation feel addictive. And for Life Path 6, whose heart craves deep bonds, it feels like destiny instead of dysfunction. It's not your weakness, it's your wiring, and it can trap you for years. Numerology tells us that the number 6 is the caretaker, the lover of harmony. But in its shadow, 6 becomes the martyr. Instead of balanced love, you attract partners who drain you, because subconsciously, you believe suffering makes love more real. This shadow side whispers, if I sacrifice enough, if I endure enough, love will finally prove itself. But love is not a test of how much pain you can take. Love is supposed to heal, not break. So how do you know if you're living in the illusion of perfect love? Ask yourself, am I mistaking chaos for passion? Do I ignore red flags because I want the story to be true? Do I feel more exhausted than fulfilled in this relationship? Am I in love with the person or the fantasy of who I want them to be? These questions are difficult, but they cut through the illusion. Let's return to Sophia. After years of intensity with Daniel, she finally realized something. She wasn't holding on to him. She was holding on to the dream of perfect love. The day she let go of that illusion, she felt grief, but also freedom. And for the first time, she saw love clearly. Not as chaos, not as destiny, but as choice. So here we are. The illusion of perfect love is one of the greatest traps for Life Path 6. It makes you stay when you should leave. It convinces you pain equals passion. It blinds you to the truth that real love is steady, safe, reciprocal. But here's the good news. Once you see the illusion, you can never unsee it. You begin to understand that love doesn't have to feel like a battlefield to be meaningful. And that realization is the first step toward freedom. In part 3, we'll dive into the next pattern. The cycle of self-sacrifice. How Life Path 6 often gives so much in love that they lose themselves completely. And why breaking that cycle is the key to finally attracting healthy, balanced relationships. In part 1, we uncovered the burden of responsibility. How Life Path 6 often feels it is their duty to fix, heal, and carry others. In part 2, we explored the illusion of perfect love. How intensity and chaos are often mistaken for destiny. Now in part 3, we move into the deepest pattern of all. The cycle of self-sacrifice. Because if there is one truth about Life Path 6, it's this. You give, and you give, and you give, until there's nothing left of you. Mark was a Life Path 6 who fell in love with a woman named Julia. She was vibrant, unpredictable, magnetic, yet deeply unstable. At first, Mark felt alive. She needed him, depended on him, and he felt important, irreplaceable. He canceled plans to be with her, lent her money when she struggled, and listened for hours when she cried about her past. Months turned into years. Slowly, Mark's life stopped being his own. He no longer played guitar with his friends, he missed family gatherings, he let his career stagnate, all because Julia always needed him. His friends said, "Mark, you've changed. Where are you?" And he laughed it off, replying, "Love is about sacrifice, right?" But deep down, Mark wasn't laughing, he was disappearing. This is the tragedy of the Life Path 6. In the name of love, you give yourself away piece by piece until you're only a shadow of who you once were. So why does this happen? Why does Life Path 6 lose themselves so easily in relationships? 1. Identity through giving. From childhood, many Life Path 6 individuals were praised for being responsible, kind, dependable. You learned early, I am loved when I give, I am valued when I sacrifice. 2. Fear of conflict. 6 is the number of harmony. You hate disharmony, so you'd rather give up your needs than risk an argument. Toxic partners learn this quickly and exploit it. 3. Martyr complex. At its shadow, 6 becomes the martyr. You believe enduring pain makes you noble, that suffering in silence proves the depth of your love. But here's the truth. Real love doesn't demand that you disappear. Let's map out how the cycle works. Phase 1, attraction. You meet someone who needs you. You feel important, purposeful, alive. Phase 2, adjustment. You begin to compromise. Cancel plans, change routines, put their needs first. Phase 3, absorption. Their problems become your problems. You stop focusing on yourself. Phase 4, emptiness. You wake up one day and realize you don't even know who you are anymore. And because Life Path 6 finds identity in giving, this cycle repeats over and over. Sarah, another Life Path 6, once described her toxic relationship this way. I gave him everything, my time, my money, my patience. I thought if I loved him enough, he'd change. But the more I gave, the less he respected me. The more I sacrificed, the more he demanded. One day, I looked in the mirror and didn't recognize myself. I wasn't Sarah anymore. I was just his caretaker. That's the danger. The cycle doesn't just drain you, it erases you. Numerology teaches us that 6 represents love, family, harmony, responsibility. But in its shadow, 6 becomes self-neglect. You believe you must choose between your happiness and theirs, and you almost always choose theirs. You believe saying no makes you selfish, and so you give until you collapse. But the soul lesson of Life Path 6 is this: true harmony includes you. Psychologically, this pattern is tied to codependency. You derive self-worth from being needed. The more someone relies on you, the more secure you feel. But toxic partners flip this against you. They keep you giving, knowing you won't walk away. They train you to ignore your needs, to believe their survival depends on you, and so you stay, long after the love has rotted into dependency. So how do you break free from the cycle of self-sacrifice? 1. Redefine love. Love is not about losing yourself. Love is about growth, mutual care, and balance. 2. Set boundaries. Boundaries are not walls, they're doors. They teach others how to love you. Without them, you become a doormat. 3. Practice self-love. Pouring endlessly into others while ignoring yourself creates imbalance. Start with the question, what do I need today? Or allow others to struggle. Sometimes the most loving thing is letting people face their own battles. Healing is their responsibility, not yours. Mark, the man who disappeared into Julia's chaos, eventually woke up. One morning he realized he had given up everything. His music, his friendships, his joy. So he made a radical choice. He left. It was painful. Julia accused him of being selfish. She told him he was abandoning her. But for the first time, Mark said, I have to save myself. And in that moment, he reclaimed his life. So here's what we've learned. The cycle of self-sacrifice is the silent destroyer of Life Path 6. You give until you vanish, mistaking love for martyrdom. But love should never cost you your identity. Love should never demand that you disappear. Breaking the cycle begins with a simple truth. You matter too. And when you honor that truth, you step out of the shadow of toxic relationships and into the light of true, balanced love. In Part 4, we'll conclude this journey by exploring how Life Path 6 can break free and redefine love, transforming toxic patterns into sacred, healthy relationships. We've journeyed far. In Part 1, we saw the heavy burden of responsibility. In Part 2, we uncovered the illusion of perfect love. In Part 3, we exposed the cycle of self-sacrifice. And now in Part 4, we arrive at the most important chapter, the breakthrough. Because the truth is this: Life Path 6 was never meant to live in chains. You were never meant to be trapped in toxic love. Your soul lesson is not about carrying everyone else's pain. It is about learning to love fully without losing yourself. So let's talk about breaking free and redefining love on your own terms. Every Life Path 6 who has endured toxic relationships eventually reaches a breaking point. It could be after years of giving too much, or in a single moment of clarity. It's that instant when you look in the mirror and ask, who am I? Where did I go? Why do I feel so empty? That moment, as painful as it is also your awakening. It's the universe whispering, enough. It's time to come home to yourself. The first step to breaking free is to redefine what love actually is. Love is not chaos. Love is not pain. Love is not obligation. Real love is steady, reciprocal, nourishing. It's a place where both partners grow, not just one giving while the other takes. For Life Path 6, this redefinition is revolutionary. It dismantles the illusion that suffering equals love. Boundaries often feel scary for Life Path 6. You fear that saying no will make you unlovable. But here's the truth. Boundaries are not rejection. They are instruction. They tell others how to love you. They protect your energy so you can love without resentment. They ensure your relationships are based on balance, not depletion. Think of boundaries as sacred tools, not walls, but doorways to healthier love. For so long, you've poured everything into others, but healing begins when you pour that love back into yourself. Self-love is not selfish. Self-love is survival. It looks like resting when you're tired, saying no when it costs too much, pursuing your own passions and dreams, refusing to shrink just to keep someone else comfortable. When a life path 6 practices self-love, the cycle of toxic attraction begins to break. Because suddenly, you no longer settle for less than you deserve. Emily, a life path 6, spent years in a relationship where she gave everything. One day, she sat alone in her apartment, surrounded by reminders of how much she had sacrificed. She whispered to herself, "I can't do this anymore." And instead of calling him, instead of apologizing, instead of fixing, she made a different choice. She chose herself. Emily started small, taking a painting class she had abandoned, reconnecting with friends, learning to say no without guilt. Months later, she met someone new. Someone who loved her not for how much she gave, but for who she was. That was her rebirth, and it began with one decision: to stop disappearing and start living. The final step is to rewrite your love story. Instead of asking, "How can I fix them?" ask, "Does this relationship fix me too?" Instead of asking, "Am I giving enough?" ask, "Are they giving too?" Instead of asking, "Do they need me?" ask, "Do they truly see me?" These questions shift the narrative from martyrdom to partnership. Numerology teaches us that the number 6 is not just about responsibility, it is about harmony, beauty, and love as a sacred bond. The higher expression of 6 is not the martyr, but the healer who knows that true healing begins with balance. When you rise into the higher 6, you no longer attract toxic partners. Instead, you attract those who match your generosity with their own. You create relationships built on respect, equality, and mutual care. Spiritually, the journey of Life Path 6 is about realizing this. You are not here to save everyone. You are here to embody love. But love, in its purest form, includes you. When you finally embrace that truth, toxic patterns lose their grip. You stop being a magnet for broken partners, and you begin to call in relationships that honor your soul. So here we are. We've uncovered the 3 traps that Life Path 6 falls into: the burden of responsibility, the illusion of perfect love, the cycle of self-sacrifice. And we've learned the steps to breaking free. Redefine love, set sacred boundaries, practice self-love, rewrite your narrative. This is your path forward. This is your liberation. Because Life Path 6 was never meant to drown in toxic love. You were meant to rise, to lead, to inspire, to create harmony that heals, not destroys. So let me leave you with this. I release the need to fix others. I honor my own needs and desires. I choose love that lifts me higher, not love that drags me down. I am worthy of harmony, balance, and joy. Repeat this until it becomes your truth, because it is. And if this message resonated with you, if you felt seen, heard, or understood, then don't let the journey end here. This is Soul Design Lab, where we decode your soul, your numbers, your destiny. If you're ready for more insights, more guidance, and more healing, click subscribe now. Not for me, not even for this channel, but for the future version of you, the one who refuses toxic patterns and chooses true, sacred love. Because you deserve it. Because your soul deserves it. Because you, Life Path 6, were born to love without losing yourself.